In 3, 2, 1. She saw over 600% year-to-year growth with a healthcare startup, while at the same time in an e-commerce business, her company drove revenue from 0 to 20 million in just 5 years. With that success, shockingly enough, came the hollow feeling of unfulfillment. This is what actually happens to many entrepreneurs when they feel that their path of success, the path of success that they are following, isn't quite in alignment with their grander purpose in life. It's a pivotal moment when people start to really question themselves, and also a moment when they quite often create their most impactful businesses. Our guest today is Hanieh Sigari, and she is the founder of Qyral. It's a skincare company that provides individualized and science-based products while offering an opportunity for people to become co-partners and entrepreneurs with the company at the same time. Did I say this right? Qyral? Is that correct? Qyral.
Chiral.
Okay, just
Yeah,
want to get that
almost.
clear. Qyral is a pathway for women to change their health, incomes, and lives. Hanieh founded this company after realizing she wanted to really make a different type of difference in the world. She was inspired by, as a young woman, by her mother, whose efforts lifted hundreds of wartime widows out of poverty. On top of being a successful entrepreneur that built an 8-figure company, Hanieh is also a biochemist and striving to make a big difference in the anti-aging industry. Qyral is the accumulation of a lifelong mission to improve the lives and health of others, and she's on the podcast today. Hanieh, how are
I'm good, thank you. What a generous intro, thank you.
you? Okay.
That captures it all, thank you.
Good.
Yeah,
And it was all correct, right? I hope.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. Good, good, good. So I love your business model. I love like these are so out of the box business models. I love talking to people. And actually the definition of a business method is a new way of doing business. And one of the reasons I named the podcast that, because there's so many new types of business models out there that people are using to get really creative, to help serve the world, you know, to live more abundant lives. And it's phenomenal to see. And I love the way you design that. And we're going to talk more, design your business. And we're going to talk more about that. But I want to start off and getting behind the mind and the motivation that you have. And I heard a quote that you said in an article, I believe, and you said, someone once told me the meaning of life is to find your gift and the purpose of life is to give it away. And you found that early on. So I have to ask, like growing up with a mother whose efforts lifted hundreds of people out of poverty, was that the motivation to help you build the business that you have today?
Oh my God, absolutely. That was a theme in my life growing up. So
Uh-huh.
I was born in Iran. I immigrated
Okay.
to the US around the age of 7. But prior to that, Iran experienced a revolution back in 1979, and my mother was sent to prison during the
Mm-hmm.
revolution, right at the cusp of the revolution. So they executed her roommates, and they were trying to build a case around her to also execute her. She was in
Wow.
prison for 6 months, and that's something interesting I don't really share.
So
Um,
they were trying to,
religion,
just sorry to interrupt. They were trying to, because she was part of the revolution or instigating the revolution. Is that why they wanted to arrest her?
well, yeah, so anyone that was against the new regime, they were
Okay.
putting in prison, executing. And what people don't really know is a majority of the people in Iran didn't really want this religious democracy. That was a small population. The majority wanted some sort of socialism, communism, a structure like that,
Okay.
because we came from a monarchy. So my mother was kind of tied in, the college students started the revolution. So any of the college students that were not with the new regime were kind of sent away um, to prison. And she happened to kind of, her roommates were politically involved and they executed her roommates. So they were trying to build a case
Oh.
fast enough around her.
Mm-hmm.
And during her 6 months in prison, she said, because she wasn't very religious growing up, she had a Quran,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all they left her, a cot and a Quran. And she said, that's where I found God. And I want my daughter to also find, religion and God in her own way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little side um, about my mother I love. But while she was there, one of her classmates who she went to school with saw her name on a list and said, oh my God, I recognize this name. But now I was like, what is she doing here? And he was with the new regime. So he said, I'm going to try to get her out of here. And my mother, since she was a social worker and she was doing her rotations, prostitution was legal in Iran during the revolution. So my
Wow.
mother would go and do the health checks. We had a red light district, and she would do the health checks for these street workers. So he didn't know that, she had that background, some sort of a rapport with these women,
Mm-hmm.
and all these women are now in the street, so they could either execute them or put them in shelters, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they decided to do. They put all these women in shelters, and he said, if I could get you out of here, would you be willing to run these shelters? And she said, oh my gosh, absolutely, get me out of this place, and I'll do whatever it takes.
Uh-huh.
And so she came out not knowing anything about management or how to run anything, right? She started running this women's shelter. I think she said it was about 60, 65 women, but now the Iran-Iraq war starts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these widows of servicemen that are also ending up at the same shelters with the ex-street workers. And as you can imagine, these two populations are clashing.
Wow.
So she's like, oh my God, I got to teach these women some sort of skill. I got to teach them, I got to occupy their time somehow. So her skill was sewing. That was her hobby growing up. And she was still till this day, very, very good at it. And that's what she did. She taught these women how to sew by hand first, right? String and needle. And, you guys do collars, you guys do this. And she taught them this craft and this skill. And she went back and she's like, well, these women, they've learned that. Now we got to take them to the next level. So she asked for sewing machines. And they came back and said, we'll give you a stipend for sewing machines if you can sew military uniforms, sheets, and so forth that we need right now for the war. And she said, oh my God, absolutely. Give me
Uh-huh.
sewing machines and I'll do it. And I think, she started with 180 sewing machines, and I think there were 200 women at the shelter at this time. So she started setting up an assembly line, not knowing anything about, what an assembly line is.
Uh-huh.
The more skilled workers would do this type of thing. They might do, collars and sleeves, and these women would do they might do the sheet. So she set up an assembly line, and then she went back and she's like, we've been doing this for a year for free. Now we got to get paid for this. So
Mm-hmm.
she went back and said, can you give these women some sort of stipend, some sort of financial return on what they're doing? And sure enough, they said, sure, we'll do it. And these women were able to slowly save up. Some of them remarried, moved out of the shelters. So this was a story in my life, right? What she did for 350 women, I wanted to do when I grow up. I want to be just like my mother, and I want to multiply her efforts by hundreds and thousands, and hopefully hundreds of thousands one day. So and that's what I set out to do. I came to the US at age 7. And I found myself befriending all the older people in my neighborhood. I guess my dad moved us into a 50+ community without knowing it, but everyone around us was pretty old. So I befriended all these older people in the community, and they taught me how to speak English because I didn't know a single word of English. They taught me how to speak English, and that's where my love and affinity for the geriatric population started, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that became another theme in my life. But as you can imagine, by the time I was in 6th, 7th grade, they started dropping one by one. First it was Millie, then Richard. I was like, oh my God, I'm losing my friends. And that's where my interest in research and the field of geriatrics started. So that's a little background of how I got to where I am.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And your mother, so your family all came to the United States together, right?
Well, my dad was here prior to the revolution. So before 79, I think he came here 76, 77. But a lot of people would come to the US, get their education, and he became an engineer, and then they would go back to Iran. But that was his plan, to go back to Iran. And then somehow, he was stuck here, and it's really difficult as an immigrant because you're stuck in two worlds. But it took us 10 years to legally immigrate to the US. So my dad was here, we were in Iran, and he was trying very, very hard to bring us back to the US. But yeah, and that's how we came. So my mother and I immigrated together, but my dad was here already. Yeah.
Gotcha. And is your mother still alive?
She is. She is.
Oh,
She's
wow.
still a
That's cool.
social worker. She's a
Is
school
she?
social worker. Yeah.
Wow. Sounds like
School
an
social
amazing
worker in New
woman.
Jersey. Yeah.
I mean, what a great
Mhm.
hero to see, like a role model to have growing up, right? Like
No,
you have somebody
absolutely.
that has done so many amazing things, and then you are taking the baton and kind of passing it on and
Yeah.
helping others with the businesses that you're creating, right?
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think more importantly, what she taught me is the how to be resourceful. You don't have to know everything. Just get
Hmm.
into it and you'll figure it out. And actually, my paternal grandmother, same thing. She had a second grade education, and in Iran, she was able to build apartment complexes and, start businesses. So I think this was in me to know that, businesses, if you can do it, if you're resourceful enough, you can achieve success, you can figure it out. So I think that's what both these women really taught me, if I think about it.
Uh-huh.
Both helping, but also the value of being resourceful. And yeah, so
That's cool.
thank you, Mom.
So yeah, thanks, Mom. How old were you then when you
Thank you.
started your first business? When you started off as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So, as any good immigrant family would, they would push their child to be either a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And I was destined to be one of these
Uh-huh.
three, but I wanted to go mostly into geriatric research. I finished my undergrad with biology, psychology, and then I went to grad school to study biochemistry. And I was supposed to either go into research, medical school. I came out and I was like, I just really, really want to be in the applied field of aging, right? And actually, a little side note: I worked in a nursing home ever since I was 16, right? And I loved working one on one with these residents. Like after the administration would go home,
Uh-huh.
I would take out my hair curling iron and my makeup bag at 4:30, and I would gather all the residents in the corridor and I would do their hair, their makeup, and we would sing
Wow.
songs. I mean, like the nursing home came to life, and I saw the value in that too, the one-on-one care, the patient-centric care. And when I came out, I was like, I want to give back in that way. Before I go into research and, all that stuff, I really think there's value in one-on-one care. And so I started my first, but I didn't have the capital, right? I wanted to start nursing
Hmm.
homes with smaller populations and focus around patient-centric care. So I told my husband, I was like, how do I start a nursing home if I don't have money? And he's like, well, start small. You can figure it out. Start with, a small population. So home health care, you don't really need a brick and mortar. You don't need a whole lot of capital. And that's what I did. I started without knowing anything about business. Again, my background has all been sciences, and there's no real entrepreneurs in my family. Everyone's in
Hmm.
academia. So I started with a home healthcare company, and again, not knowing anything about business, I grew this company to 1.2 million the first year, and then doubled
Wow.
that the next year, and it was really cool to see. Wow, like I'm thriving, and I don't know anything. And simultaneously, because we didn't know what would fail, what would succeed, so we didn't want to put all of our eggs in one basket. My husband started an e-commerce fulfillment company and warehousing fulfillment. But initially, that was just supposed to be a package forwarding company
Hmm.
where international customers have a U.S. address. The package comes and we forward it to you, to international customers. But slowly, we started getting blacklisted from most shopping websites like Macy's and Sephora's and so
Uh-huh.
forth. So we're like, oh my God, we got to start a new model. And at this point, I had my home care company running. So I was like, I'll help you guys. And we found a niche in the Kickstarter crowdfunding community, and it was very new at the time. So these individuals had a different need than your typical e-commerce customer, in that they started very small and you had to grow with them. And sure enough, we grew with our customers. Some of them are doing 100 million in 2 years, 3 years. And so I found, like, wow, there's a whole other world in e-commerce. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And this is about a decade ago, when it was still very young.
Yeah.
And so anyways, did that. Home healthcare, the e-commerce business, both are thriving and growing. but it was starting to really take a toll on me. And as the home healthcare company was growing, it's like, well, this isn't really doing what I wanted to initially set out to do in that patient-centric care. It just became mostly staffing, right? And the rules and regulations were constantly changing. I couldn't provide the economic opportunities I wanted to my staff. At this point, we had 500 plus home healthcare workers or
Wow.
nurses. But the majority were home health aides. And, you know, if you could imagine, they're making minimum wage, a little above minimum wage. And I would love to have paid more, but the reimbursements were so low with insurance and Medicaid. So I was like, this doesn't feel good. You know, these women are struggling and I wish I could do more. How can I do more? I wanted to, but it's a very limited field. So I was like, let me try to exit that, sell that, focus on the e-commerce company and maybe think about something else I could do. And I think that's where the idea of empowering women, how can I empower women? You know, I saw these women struggling, like how can I make their lives a little bit better? So I was focused mainly on the e-commerce side of the business. But again, same thing. With limited resources, small margins, you're limited as to what you can pay your employees. And with the e-commerce fulfillment side of the business, it was also a staffing. It was a staffing company you're running essentially. You have 100 warehouse workers, and then depending on the season, you know, you have to increase to 180, 200, and you're not paying them a whole lot either. So I was like, all right, it's time. I'm not feeling good. Yeah, the businesses are growing, but I need to get out and find a way to really impact people's lives financially, be able to give them the opportunities necessary and teach them skills, right? And took some time off. That's where that's where the concept of Qyral started, really, if I think about it. Took about a year or two off, went to Asia, I traveled, I had a child, my first child. And thought about how can I bring all of my passions together, the feel for the field of aging, my background in sciences, the story of my mother and how she was able to teach women skills and impact their lives. How can I bring it all together?
Yeah.
And sure enough, that was the conception of Qyral.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in
That was a mouthful. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Qyral and the business model for the listeners so they understand exactly how it works. So can you dissect that for us?
Sure. So as far as our products are concerned, every single product is personalized for the individual. So you take an online quiz, and then based off of the quiz results, we customize a 4-step regimen for you, starting with an exfoliant, because a lot of the customized companies I found we're talking about ingredients, and that's great and all, but if you don't have ingredients at the right concentration, at the right pH, they're not very effective. So efficacy was at the heart and soul of, if I was going to have a product-based business, I needed to be effective. And so we formulate and customize every single one of the products for our customers. But more importantly, we have the entire the network marketing side of the business. And I know that gets a really bad rep, but I wanted to also do that differently. So what you do is you partner with us, and we give you all the tools necessary, the entire back end. We do the fulfillment, no inventory required. You just have to have a passion to, you know, market and do the things you love, like connecting with other people. And we'll do everything else. And yeah, you make a commission up to 40% off the sale of every product. So that's the business model. But I was able to see how much people can make in network marketing as far as the distributors go. And I was like, this is great. So if you have the skill, you can make millions potentially. And I was really driven by that. I was, you know, distributors making a lot of money as long as we could teach them the skill and kind of empower them and give them the tools that they need. So that's the business model.
How old is the company now, Hanieh?
We are about 2 years. We're 2 years into it, but we've officially launched since October. our back end, it took a really long time to build the back end of
Mhm.
the business. So we're fairly young, but it's starting to really take off. Um, and it's exciting. Yeah.
That's cool. So before we get more into the model, you said you guys are customizing each product for each individual. How do you guys do that? Because that seems at first, by hearing it, sounds overwhelming. Like how do you create the systems? You've got eventually you'll get thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people and customers. How are you guys keeping those systems to customize each product for each individual? And making it sustainable.
Sure. So currently we have a lab here in downtown Los Angeles. We have our lab where we adjust the pH of the serums and adjust the concentration of the ingredients. But as we grow, we are looking into automating the system. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, everything is done by hand. And,
Wow.
it's okay because we want to make sure that it is a business model that'll work. And it seems to be working, but we're looking into automating. That's how we're going to be able to scale and grow. Yeah.
Okay. And how long do you think you can keep the lab that you guys have? Where's your marker to be like, okay, now we need to definitely scale up and get this all completely automated? How many customers can you guys handle right now?
Well, once it becomes, that's a good question. Our marker is what we're looking into automating right now.
As soon
So
as possible.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
as soon as possible. Right now is about the time that we need to start looking into automating at least some portions of the system. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Excellent. Okay. And so then the model. So I started out in business 14 years ago in a network marketing company. And I loved it. So anybody out there that, some of them get bad reputations because there's, all good things attract bad people, right? And so sometimes there's bad people that'll join a network marketing company, or there's a few out there that are scammy and they give a bad reputation for everybody else. But they're an incredible business model for people that want to learn business skills, that don't have the time or the know-how to create a product or service on their own, and they can join a community of other entrepreneurs learning to be entrepreneurs. And even if it's a side hustle, like this is
hmm
a great
hmm
thing for people that are at home or out of work during COVID, that they can start on the side and just continue
hmm
to bring some income in. So how's it work with Qyral? You guys have you have all your products, and give us a range of the cost of the products, and then what it takes for somebody to join the company, and then type of commissions that they can earn.
Sure. So the cost of products are anywhere from $65 to approximately 85.
Mm-hmm.
That's per product,
Okay.
which is, for a custom-based product, it seems to be very average in the industry. And for the distributors, for anyone who's interested in joining, it will only cost $89 unless you would like to. The basic kit is $89, which covers the
Mm-hmm.
cost of your software and all of the back-end training that we're giving you. We have a app where everything is gamified. That's how you learn your skills.
Oh, nice.
Learn a skill, you get a point, and so on. So you move through the app, and that's how you start. But yeah, I think for anyone who has tried to start a business, I mean, it's very costly. And for you to be able to really start something with $89, not having to buy inventory, not having to do R&D, not having to
Mm-hmm.
take on the entire burden of setting up a supply chain, I think it's very, very fair and affordable. And I think my focus was women because, I mean, I'm a mother myself. I have two kids. And it's very difficult for some moms to be able to pay for childcare, and sometimes this cost of childcare for 2 or 3 kids is how much you're earning, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mothers at home that are there not by choice, but because they have to, right? And I was just actually reading that as early as December, women lost 156,000 jobs where men gained 16,000. So I think women are disproportionately affected
Mm-hmm.
in the workforce. And I wanted to be able to really give women the skills that they need, right? That was my focus, the educational piece. So I know most network marketing companies have some sort of a focus. You know, the nail companies will do nail bars, and the ones that sell shampoos and hair care will focus on, you know, hair tutorials. But my biggest focus is teaching women about aging, the aging process, both physical and the cellular aging process,
Mm-hmm.
because I want them to have the confidence to talk about this, right? These complex research, and I want to be able to break it down so they could have that talk with their friend to say, hey, did you know the cellular turnover cycle, which is at the heart of our every single one of our products? Did you know it happens every 2 weeks when you're born, but by the time you reach your 50s, it happens every 90 days, and that's why our skins age. You know, I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
teach people what really causes aging. And so education is really at the heart and soul of our company. And one thing I love to say is if you come and interact with our site, buy nothing but learn something, then I've done my job, right?
Oh yeah.
So every single one of the ingredients that could potentially be used in the formulations is listed on the website, and you could go see the scientific research behind it, and you could read a little bit about it. So I really wanted to also be able to educate, especially in the field of science. It feels so intimidating, but if I could
Mm-hmm.
break it down and make it simple, then how awesome would that be? So yeah, there's a little bit of a science focus as well as
That's
building
great.
managerial skills and entrepreneurial skills.
Or you're just adding so much value, validation with the science part of it too, you know, because there's so many products out there, and people read the back of the labels, but nobody really knows what's on in them, you know, even if it's even an organic or all natural product, you know, still some of the products people are confused by, you know, and if you can explain that to them, I think it makes them more loyal to the brand and the product, because you're like, oh, this all is really great stuff that's for my body and for my skin. When I was in a network marketing business, there was a lot of live events. So, you know, we would have two a week, one on Wednesday, then one on Friday. We'd meet up in person. We'd promote our products. Maybe it was at a house or an office somewhere. And then we would have on a regular basis these large, you know, 500 people, 1,000, 15, 2,000 person events where they, you know, the speakers are there and they're like, you know, pumping us all up and talking about how these amazing stories of how somebody was driving a bus and now they're making $10,000 a month and stuff like that. In today's world, I would imagine, especially, you know, since you guys started, it's much different, right? Or at least your business model, because no live events. You're in California. There's definitely nothing happening in California. In Texas, maybe a little bit more flexibility, right? But so, how are the independent contractors or partners that you're working with? How are they getting the word out to the world? You know, Mary Kay like hosts makeup sessions at people's homes, but people are skeptical of that now because, you know, COVID, worried about live
Sure.
in-person stuff. So what are you guys telling? What's the model for you guys helping helping those contractors out there and partners that you have to sell their product?
Sure. I mean, we're starting this engine up, right? We're fairly new and just starting this engine up. But
Mm-hmm.
when we were putting the business together, we want it to be a virtual based business, e-commerce based, virtual. So no handling of products. That's why we are customizing everything so that
Mm-hmm.
we're able to match the customer's needs precisely. So even before COVID happened, we wanted to be online based only. And with that said, we wanted to have our distributors be able to hold online events. And so on a weekly basis, we have an educational session. And now, you know, we're getting into Clubhouse and just
Yeah.
trying to harness the power of all of these tools now available. But COVID, I think, expedited what we already wanted to do,
Right.
which was get everyone online, you know, do a wine night with your girlfriends over Skype. I mean, all my friends are in New Jersey and Michigan and so forth. So you know, we wanted to do that, and we are we are doing it. We're hosting live events. We're hosting, our educational sessions are recorded, and so anyone can go and view the videos. But um, yeah, I think this is already what we wanted to do. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to be in person, so it's working out pretty well. But I'll let you know in about a year or so. I mean, everyone else is doing it. I see
Yeah.
our competitors, Rodan and Fields and Monet, like they're holding these virtual parties with thousands of people. So
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be working. Network marketing is also changing, and I see that a lot of them are doubling their revenues, these big companies, during the course of COVID, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I can make some side income and I don't have to get out there. But we want people to harness and use the power of social selling.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all of our images, all of the posts that you can post online. We have everything set up for you. So it's just at a click of a button. And software seems to always be a problem with network marketing. So we wanted to do that right, where we built our website from scratch. We're building a lot of the back end tools ourselves,
Yeah.
so that we don't have a lot of the problems that other network marketing companies have. But yeah, this is already what we wanted to do.
Well, tell us what you guys plan to do with Clubhouse, because it's a new platform. Actually, they're still in beta, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are on it, and it's growing every day and getting bigger and bigger. What do you guys, to promote your business? What do you guys plan to do with Clubhouse?
Sure. I'm already hosting. I started a everything beauty club on Clubhouse when back, I think it was January, February. This is when all the hype was starting. It's like, let me get on it. Let me give it a try. Let me learn as much as possible. So what I do currently is I teach anyone who is perhaps an esthetician and wants to, be able to sell products or start their own business. So I started, it's how to start your own beauty brand courses. I go on and I talk about how to set up your own business if you want to create your own product, what it takes, the R&D process, the formulation. And at the end of it, I'm like, well, let me take the headache away. That's my value proposition. I could do the entire back end for you guys, and you guys do the marketing, which is something you have to do anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's currently how I'm using Clubhouse, but I'm also thinking of it as a platform I can use to educate our distributors, educate the public, anyone that wants to know about
Yeah.
the science of aging, they could come into the rooms, but it's still fairly young and we're playing around with it.
Yeah.
But currently that's what I have done. I've hosted these events for want to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And they could learn, how to start their own business.
That's great. I love this business model. Actually, we interviewed a guy about a year ago named John Crestani. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before, but he's got a big YouTube channel. And what he does is he has a course that's $1,000, and people can be independent contractors and sell his course. His course teaches other people how to start businesses, and they can sell his course for $1,000, and they get I think, I don't know, 50% of the commission or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got thousands of people out there in the world selling his courses. And, it's free promotion for him. And he's pulling $250,000 a month, with his courses that he's selling. And to look at this model that you guys are doing with Qyral, it's very creative, because we think in the world of business and entrepreneurship, we've got to create a product and a service, and then we've got to do all the marketing, we've got to do all the build it up, we've got to build a team, we've got to put it all out to the world, and then to scale it, we're just selling it ourselves, or our team selling it ourselves, or maybe we have an agency come in and sell it and promote it, that sort of thing. But with what you guys are doing, you're literally helping people create more abundant lives, and liberate themselves in some way by coming in and saying, hey, we've taken care of all this. All you got to do is tell your friends and family and other people about our products and services that you're using and love already. So why not?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And we also,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, we also have an affiliate arm where if you are already a influencer online, all you got to do is promote the product, and we'll give you up to, once again, 40%. So if you have a distribution channel already, then even better. But
Yeah.
So you have two programs that we're offering currently. Do you want to build out your own team, have other people under you? If you want that, that's fine. And if you don't, and you want straight commission, we also offer that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Could you guys work, or maybe you've thought of this already, work with social media agencies that have a bunch of influencers under them and partner up with them and have the influencers, if there's influencers out there that need a product to promote, then, they can hop on your guys' bandwagon, promote your product and create more sales and
That's a
more
great
money for them and
idea.
for you. Yeah. I just
Yeah.
interviewed,
No, that's a great idea. Yeah.
yeah, I say that because last Friday I interviewed a woman out of LA who has a large social media agency, and she was talking about her business processes to get, quite often it's sponsors that come in and say, hey, we want to sponsor, look at the list of influencers she has. We want to sponsor this one or that one or that one, but maybe
No, I
to
love that. That's a great idea.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll make a note. But
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately we do want people to build their teams and be able
Yes.
to spread the word. But
Right.
no,
Right.
that's a really great idea for any of the influencers that
Well,
do
the
want to.
world of influence is just growing so much, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. And a lot of the young influencers are pretty young, and
Hmm. Hmm.
they don't know a lot about business. And then these types of business models that you guys have, somebody could come in and say, hey, we have some products and services you might like. Try them
Hmm.
out, and share them with your Facebook or Instagram sort of thing.
And a
So
lot of the female influencers I am speaking to, they want to start their own brands, but they just don't know how, right?
so much work.
MOQs and
Yes.
this world is just so new for them. And yeah, you can go and team up with a company and a lab and white label some products, but again, that's expensive too. And you have all this inventory now, and there's a
Mhm.
question of, can I actually sell these products that I got? I have 50,000 of one SKU. Can I sell it? So, this is a very low risk type of opportunity that you can take to start. And if it does take off, then go ahead, start your own brand. But
Yeah.
at least it's a very low risk. Yeah.
One of the talking points you have here, Hani, is, and I think we've touched on this a bit, but the gap between the gig economy and women entrepreneurship. And I don't know exactly what the gig economy is, so I want to ask you about that, and maybe we can talk more about that gap that exists.
Sure. So the typical gig economy of being a freelancer, being an Uber driver, or I mean, um, those are the more popular
Just
types of
like
gig economy.
taking
Yeah.
gigs, like a gig here and a gig
Yeah.
there. Got it. Okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then being a full-fledged entrepreneur where you're investing in your R&D, your products, the infrastructure of your business.
Hmm.
This is kind of the bridge of, you can work on your own terms. That's what a gig job is, right? You're working sort of on your own terms. If you want to pick up a ride, whatever, if a you're doing DoorDash, for example, you want to do it as a full-time job. And I'll share, actually, this is where some of the idea came after my dad retired. He was driving all of us crazy. He was home, and I was like, Dad, you got to do something with your time. And my dad was a workaholic his entire life. And he's like, well, what do I do? And he's like, so I set him up on Uber, and I was like, I'll go on your first ride with you. And sure
Uh-huh.
enough, in full Papa Sigari mode, he turned this rides just to take up some of his time and interact with customers. I think he did $80,000 last year in Uber,
What?
on Uber. Yeah, he just loves it. He loves going out, and it's not even the money, right? It's for him, it's the interaction, the one-on-one he gets with customers. And
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, you could do it as little or as much as you want, and you still get the same type of training that you would as an entrepreneur. You still get the same skills taught to you. So this is kind of bridging the gap. You don't have to do one or the other. You can settle somewhere in the middle. And I
Yeah.
think that's what we're really trying to provide.
Yeah. I know you're great at building brands, honey, and you talk about going unconventional, with like a brand name, right? And Qyral is very unconventional. Why do you like going unconventional with brand names, and how did you choose this one?
A very good question. I love it now that we're getting into the science stuff. But
Uh-huh.
chirality is a mathematical and chemistry term, which means your non-superimposable mirror image. So if you could
Wow.
think about it as your left hand and your right hand, you put them on top of one another, they don't exactly fit. So I thought that was a great name for our company because as similar as we all are, right? Like oh, and another thing I have to say in chemistry, if you have a chiral molecule, right, they're identical in the number of atoms and molecules they have, but they will behave completely different inside of your body. Even though it looks identical, it behaves completely different. So I thought, wow,
Okay.
that's exactly how we all are, right? We're even though we're made up of the same things, we're very different. So it was a little bit about this mirror image, self-reflection, and then also we're very unique in our own way, and that's what Qyral represents and is.
I love it. And
Thank you.
so with other brands, say somebody's trying to find a brand name for themselves. What do you recommend? What type of process do you recommend for people to come up with a creative brand name that's unconventional? Because I did this, like for me, creating the brand that we have now was torturous. It was, some people just hear something, they're like, we're going to name the company that, and it sticks, right? For me, it was like, oh my God, hours of meditation, walks, like climbing mountains, not that much, but it took me a long time to figure out this brand name. And so what's your process? Like, does it just kind of come natural for you, or how do you do it?
Well, I wanted to pay homage to the field of chemistry and biochemistry. So I wanted something in that field. But I also wanted a name where if you Google, 20 other things don't come up and you're on the
Yeah.
last page. So with Qyral, when I initially Googled, I was like, wow, there's nothing else with that name. So it was great. It's short. It's a short 5-letter name. And then yeah, so how can others do that and make sure that in another language it's not insulting or offensive.
That's good.
So I did do a little research to make sure that
What does
no
it mean in
other.
different languages?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
thank God there's
There's
it doesn't
nothing.
mean anything in
Okay.
other languages. So I guess find something that you're passionate about and make it short, but yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, it
It
has to
is.
resonate with you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how I came up with it. I did the search and I was like, wow, this is so unique. There's nothing else like it. And it's also something that the field that I'm in. So
So part of our podcast, I don't know if you know, is we take the episodes and then we make micro episodes and publish those on Monday and Friday. So we'll publish the main episode on a Wednesday, and then Monday and Friday we'd do like a 2 to 10 minute episode talking about high performance tips or just things that entrepreneurs can use to help grow, up level their mindset, scale their businesses. As a female entrepreneur and a mother at the same time, I haven't asked anybody yet specifically on like quote unquote mother high performance tips. So maybe as a mom, you can give us some really tips that you've used to help be a mother, to be a wife, to have a solid family, a successful family, and be a successful entrepreneur at the same time. Does anything come to mind on what you do?
yeah, well, I have a toddler as well. So I figured certain things out as we were going along and I had a routine, everything was great. And then a newborn comes into the picture. You're not sleeping, like everything goes out the door and you're
Right.
starting all over again. But I have James Clear who did
Atomic Habits. Is
Atomic
it?
Habits. So I
Yeah.
have the James Clear notebook, and this thing I love. And whenever I feel like I'm kind of falling off the bandwagon, it's something as small as like folding laundry, because now you can imagine I have so much laundry piling up, the both kids and my own, and I don't have a whole lot of time. So like, I write it as a habit that I want to do every day and I check it off. And sure enough, after a couple weeks, it sticks. But this I absolutely love. What I do is first thing in the morning, I come in and I have it divided up into 3 quadrants. I have the top where I have 6 tasks that I very, very important. I have to do, and I sometimes write it the night before. And then on the left-hand side, even though I have my calendar on my computer, I create, a 9 to 6 or 9 to 7 schedule, like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. I put the
Okay.
hours, and then I write everything out. And then on the right-hand side, I write all the notes from that day. But this really helps. It kind of organizes me. So that's what I start with. And another thing that has been so helpful is going for a walk in the mornings. I call it, my husband calls it Honey's manifestation walks. He's like, "Are you going on your manifestation?" But what it really is I put, sometimes it's a book I'm listening to, other times it's just, relaxing music. But I go on this walk for about 2-3 miles, and I have both kids in these double strollers. And it helps me really think about the day. Like, what is that most important thing that I have to do to push this boat a little bit further, right? Because there's a difference between being busy and being productive. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be productive. And that really helps a lot. Those morning walks help, but exercise, physical activity is important to me too. So in the afternoons, I'll go for a Peloton ride, or I just joined a CrossFit gym, so I'll do that. But I think that's really, it's hard too as a mom. I think I feel guilty a lot of times. I leave my son at daycare, right? That's where he is right now. And I feel really guilty, but in a way, it drives me too, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
6 p.m. I still haven't picked him up from daycare. Like, I must be a terrible mom, right? That's what I think. But it drives me. I mean, my time with him when we are together, I'm there one-on-one. He's my sole focus. So, and what would I really want? I want him to grow up having the value and knowing the value of working hard. Like, you have to have a balance. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not so much quantity as it is quality. And when we are together, it's precious, and it's
Okay.
one-on-one. And then I have my other infant here in the office with some of our employees over there, and I feel bad. And can you watch him while I do this? But those are my tips, just getting organized, doing the habit journal. And then also I do a gratitude journal in the mornings to come in and just be grateful for what you have, and
Yeah.
count your blessings. I have 2 healthy kids. I'm so grateful for that in itself. But
Do you have
yeah,
regular work times and eating times and stopping times?
I used to, but that stuff kind of goes out the door with a
With kids?
newborn.
Yeah. Okay.
So no, now I don't. I try, actually, I find that I'm a lot more productive when I don't eat in the mornings. I'll have maybe a protein shake, but I'll try to eat my first meal around 12-1. No, I'm not on some fasting schedule, but
Mm-hmm.
it just gets me to do the most important things I need to without getting slowed down or bogged down with the food digestion process.
Yeah.
So yeah, typically 1 o'clock, and also protein, getting enough protein throughout the day is pretty important. So I'll just have some protein shakes stocked up in the office at all times that I'll grab. Yeah, but
How about tips for female entrepreneurs and mompreneurs right after birth? So you've got a successful business, you have a baby, and how long does it take you to kind of get back into the quote unquote the new normal routine, to where you're back working at the business again? Do you take X amount of time off? Some things that could apply to those new mother entrepreneurs.
sure. I jumped right into it because my hormones just felt so off. And, there's a lot that changes with your body too, that I think
Uh-huh.
um, a lot of women understand. There's the postpartum. And I knew through working and keeping myself busy, I won't have a crash like I did last time. And sure enough, I mean, it still happened. I felt really down, but at least my mind was occupied, and I had the baby here with me. I definitely think people should take time, as long as they need to take, to bond and interact with their baby. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I have the luxury of being able to bring my newborn here and put him on my lap and be able to work and feed and do what I need to do. My tip for, it's really hard. It's so personal.
Yeah.
it's difficult for me to say because I don't know what someone else is going through. I don't know how their hormones are affecting them. I was super foggy. I was trying to have conversations with some of our consultants in the field, and like my mind wouldn't work. I just felt really foggy. Or I would have a conversation with my husband and he thinks I'm still the honey that I was, 9 months ago, a year ago, but like I'm not, my
Hmm.
body's changing. So I think for partners and for people around to be compassionate and understanding is so important. And if you have a team around you that understands and can provide that sort of support, that's great. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really have a lot of tips.
Those are
I'm
great
trying to,
tips. No, those are great
I'm
tips.
really figuring, I'm just kind of going with the flow of things right now.
Yeah,
And if I need to take a day off, I do it. Right.
it's good.
So,
Well, one of the reasons I
but
wanted to ask, because I think pretty much all the productivity stuff out there is kind of put out by men, right? And there's not a lot of women out there that are talking about their productivity and optimization schedules, like how they can continue to be the woman that they want to be, whether they're having a child or whether they're married or single and that sort of thing. So I like to ask because I don't think all
sure.
the productivity stuff out there applies to both
Yeah.
sexes. Yeah.
And if you can imagine throughout the 9 months, right? So prior to pregnancy, I had a very strict routine schedule, wake up at 5, do this, do that. But now throughout the 9 months, your body's changing too, right? You
Yeah.
feel exhausted. You don't want to get out of bed at 5:30. So you just have to really be compassionate towards yourself
Yeah.
and give your body what it needs. Like just respond to your body. So it's very hard to give tips and you have to be flexible and agile with yourself as you are with your business. Do that, provide that for yourself. So yeah, I'm just kind of right now going with the flow of things. If I feel like getting up, I don't beat because I used to do that. Like, oh my God, you can't perform at the same rate you used to be able to perform, right? You're not waking up at 5, you're not doing this, you don't have your routine. And I was really beating myself up and it was like sucking me down, right? I was falling into even more anxiety and
Right.
a little bit of a depression. So I'm like, no, we're done with that. We'll just take it day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, like enough with. And then also, I think for women, there's still a lot of, I mean, men and women, there's a lot of stigma around mental health.
Hmm.
Don't be ashamed to go and get, antidepressants if you need them right after childbirth. It's
Counseling and
natural. Yeah,
therapy.
counseling,
Yeah.
therapy. Make sure you get that support system together. So to all the moms, I feel you. Much respect. To all the men, to the husbands. I mean, dads go through it too. There's a lot of dads that aren't sleeping.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for understanding and being a support system to us.
Yeah. Honey, is there anything else that you would like to share about Qyral and what you guys are doing there or your business or tips for the listeners?
So I also work with my husband, and that's a whole other thing of balancing, your marital relationship. And for anyone that does work with their spouse, please call me. I'm always, please. No, but I think being able to separate our work and life has been critical, right? Being able to kind of keep the two separate has been very, very important. So, anyways, I wanted to share that for anyone that's working with their spouse. I would
How do you
like to
guys,
get some tips.
yeah, how do you guys keep that separate? Because I was with a lovely lady for 4 years and we were both entrepreneurs, but at the end we couldn't make it work. But, working together, living together, and we would travel together too. So we would live
Mm-hmm.
abroad in different countries, brought a lot of stress on the relationship. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you guys balance that with your husband?
Well, that's another thing. You have a lot more ammunition, right? If you had a normal business partner, there's a lot of things about their personal life you wouldn't know. You would know, and then like in the
Right.
morning, I'm still upset maybe because he didn't wash the dishes, or I'm making that up, but
Something.
and then
Yeah.
you carry that into the business, right? So it's really, really, really important in having that discipline of being able to separate home life with work life. and also still making time with like 2 kids,
Yeah.
making time for yourself. But we've been doing this for 10 years, and we're able to integrate the business as part of our family. Like some people do have faith as an integrated part of their family unit. Same thing for us. Like the business is kind of integrated into our family, right? That's what we always wanted. So it's working right now. It's been over a decade and it's still working. We've worked together from day one. So
somebody needs to make a course on how people do this, because it's needed.
That would be a good idea. Maybe that's what I should do, a training on that. But I'm always open to getting tips, because it can really take a toll on your relationship sometimes and make you a little resentful towards your partner, right? Like we're not spending time. The business and the kids are taking time for yourself is important too, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm open to tips.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, Hanieh. This has been a really fun interview. I've enjoyed getting to know you and learning about your business and your business model. If the listeners wanted to reach out and learn more about what you guys have going on, where's the best place they could do that at?
Sure. You can follow us on our Instagram page at Qyral Skincare, or you can visit our website at Qyral.com. And if you're interested in being a partner, you can read all about it at Qyral.com/partners. But thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about my business and everything else. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been a delight and a pleasure. Listeners, we want to thank you guys for tuning in once again, and we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.